What is the best way for SMEs to grow or scale? Arun Jain will cover it in today's workshop. He will take you through an exciting journey of how to leverage design thinking, to explore hidden opportunities, to unlock untapped potential of your organization, thereby enabling your organization to grow exponentially. Reimagining your business needs a different thinking. It means moving from what worked till now to what else should I be doing differently to grow my business. Exponential growth is exciting, but at the same time require shift in thinking. Design thinking helps in seeing your business holistically. Normally, we'll be thinking of growth in a linear way rather than in an exponential way. Arun will be sharing with us the secret sauce of growth in an unconventional way. Moving to the eminent speaker for this workshop, let me introduce Mr. Arun Jain. I want to thank Arun for accepting our invitation. Yeah, warm welcome to you, Arun.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Arun Jain is founder of Polaris Group and chairman and managing director of Intellect Design Arena Limited, the world's first full-spectrum fintech products company. Intellect powers over 240 leading global banks and financial institutions. Arun commenced his entrepreneurial journey by setting up Nuclear Software Workshop in 1986, Polaris Software in 1993, and Intellect in 2011. Arun has conducted design thinking workshops termed Unmukt, meaning boundaryless thinking, for people from various sectors. Very recently, Arun conducted a path-breaking virtual workshop on design thinking for 20,000 plus engineering students across India simultaneously, enabling them to think differently. This is a phenomenal initiative, Arun. Arun has also founded School of Design Thinking and various other organizations. He has been honored with many awards. Prominent among them are Dronacharya Award by Taikon Chennai and Lifetime Achievement Award by the CAI. Thank you. Over to you, Arun.
Thank you, Shriram. It didn't require such a big introduction for me. So I want to be participating with SMEs because I started my journey as an SME, as an individual. And at that time, the investment circle was not there. So it was a bootstrap way back in 1986. So when Shriram approached me that let's have a workshop, it was an exciting moment for me to share my personal journey and which got translated into some of the observation where I picked up some elements from Indian philosophy and as well as Western philosophy of Stanford, where the design thinking started way back in 1992, where the Silicon Valley has all the origination, and Silicon Valley, this, we all know, is very different from what East Coast of America is. And what is that makes it different? 3 million people, 20 mile by 20 mile different, is about thinking only. They have everything else in New York and East Coast, but the thinking process is unique to the Silicon Valley. And that's what Silicon Valley we want to create out of India now. So that's the opportunity NASSCOM is embarking on, that if we create that kind of a thinking in SMEs, I think India would be a different place and the world is a stage for us to perform. Now, if I look at it, design thinking, the first thing is, what is the fundamental questions are there? So what do you mean by business? Can you define a business? What does it mean by business? We use the word business, but what is the definition of business? So when I pose this question to one of the groups, we find the answer that business is spotting an opportunity where customer desires are unfulfilled, or you are creating a new desire in a customer. There are two ways you can create an opportunity, but first element of business is an opportunity. And then the second element is about resources. What resources you have? Resources of thinking, resources of competency, resources of experience, resources of team, and resources of financial investment if it's there. If it's not there, then also it's okay. And when you connect opportunity and resources, it leads to your design thinking. Sorry, business. Business is a combination of three things: opportunity, systems, and resources when you wire them together. Now, what is opportunity? Then you ask the next question, what is opportunity? So opportunity is about empathizing with the customer, understand what he is not speaking, listening to what he is not speaking, observing to what he is not telling you, but you're observing, and that's the opportunity to be created. And then you say, what is the resources? There are 6 resources for any corporation to build. I call it belief. So first thing is a belief. Any resources are the belief is the first resource. Whether I believe in my business, my purpose on which I'm solving the problem. So whenever I start an IT company, my belief is a critical portion of. Now, if I break down the belief into 6 alphabets, first alphabet is a B, stand for brand capital. What is my brand? What is my sales processes? Is a capital. Brand is my capital. Sometimes we loosely use a brand capital, but brand is the first capital. The second is my end customer. Second is in the belief stand for my end customer. Who is my end customer who will be using my services, my product? The third is leadership. What is my leadership of the organization? What is the talent in the organization? What is the leadership? So third capital is the leadership or talent capital, I call it. Then fourth capital is my product, IP capital. Fifth capital is my execution capital. How do I deliver my solution to the customer? And sixth is the financial capital. So I bring finance capital as last fag end of it, not the first part of it. So a lot of things today, the startup ecosystem, we are first asking for finance. I would say unless you have a fixed 5 elements fixed, don't jump into the finance capital. And if you have a 1 centimeter cube, if I show you 1 centimeter cube here, this is a 1 centimeter cube. If it becomes 3 centimeter cube, how many times the business will grow? How much volume it will grow? A 1 centimeter cube growing to 3 centimeter cube. So each space becomes 3 centimeter. What is the volume of the growth of the business? The answer is 27 times. So if all the 6 capital grows just 3 times, the growth of the business is 27 times. And today we are talking about 10x growth, not 27x growth. So basically, I have to operate on all the 6 capital to grow 3 times, my brand to be 3 times, my customer acceptance and promotion score to be 3x, my leadership score to be 3x, only 3x to grow the business 27x. And that's the magic of design thinking which comes into picture. Now the next question is, what is design thinking? As Shriram tried to explain, it's a way to. So I just want to break the etymology of design thinking. Design thinking is a 2-word. What is design and what is thinking? So design is a plan for arranging element in such a way that it delivers an outcome aligned to the purpose. That's the definition of design. Whether you design your house, you design your office, you design your kitchen, you design anything in your life, is around planning and organizing the things in a particular order is a design. So design is a common word, but when you link it to thinking, then we need to ask a question: what is thinking? So thinking is defined as an action which one minds start to produce a thought. So how do you create a thought in your mind aligned to the? So that's a thinking process. It could be conceive, envision, imagine, all are part of the thinking. So now one thing is design and second thing is design and second word is thinking. And then you link the two, then it becomes a design thinking. So when you envision, you imagine, you conceive the thought in your mind, that it becomes result by applying the design on the top of it, putting all the elements together, those part of it, then it becomes design thinking. Now, if you want to examine design thinking now, so how the thinking change? Next question is, now if I define the thinking that it requires a thought process change, then what is does it change? In human body, there are only 4 ways we can learn from the system. First is listening, second is observation, third is reading, and fourth is dialogue. There are 4 elements through which I can shape my thinking. I can listen to what you are listening in today's conference. You are observing certain patterns in today's conference. You will be reading certain things from the books, what you have looked at it. I don't know how much, but every of SME, what budget do you have for reading the books? Do you have a specific budget? Then it is a nice thing to have, let's say 10,000 rupees per month is for reading the books or buying the books and reading the books. That's the cheapest way of learning the market. And then how are you dialoguing? Not discussion, not reviews. I want to strongly suggest, don't try to review, don't try to look the discussion. It's about dialogue. Krishnamurti says dialogue is a way where it triggers a new thought in your mind, and that trigger the new thought in the mind is a design thinking. Now, if you want to acronym it, it's a LORD. L, listening, observation, reading, and so that's the LORD in us, which is available in us. I'll just introduce few concepts now. The first concept you must have seen, all of you must have seen, which is propagated by IDEO, Silicon Valley, that we need to understand the red circle on the left, which is about inspiration or desirability. That's where your opportunity spotting happens. Then, since you're IT player, you apply technology to make it feasible. So these first two circles are much simpler to execute. Then third circle is a yellow circle, which is a viability circle. And that yellow circle is the most difficult thing to make it, that where is the right fit for your product with the customer. When all the three things meet, that becomes a throughput of the business. Then I didn't stop design thinking there. I said, let me see what is the East Coast thinking of design. And Roger Martin has written a design of business. So he didn't write design of the problem solving. Normally, design thinking is related to the problem solving. If SME has to grow 10 times, then the problem statement shifts to design the business. So design the business has got first element of any business area which you enter into. There's a lot of mystery there. You'll have a lot of balls which are cluttered there. Anybody who starts a business, you will have a lot of issues of growth. That's a mystery. Then when you start growing, then start collecting the patterns and start building heuristics around it. And from heuristics, when you solve everything get wired, then it becomes algorithm. So moving the connected element of the belief capital, which is a mystery, how do you connect all of them? Then you start driving heuristics into it, and then you create an algorithm. Then it becomes design thinking. The third definition, which is the method of solving mystery to heuristics to algorithm, it comes from understanding requirement. When you write HRMS software, or you're solving a problem of the robotics, or you're solving a problem of AI, machine learning, what is understanding the requirement is? What is stated, what is unstated? When you solve a machine learning, you apply machine learning to legal firms, you need to understand what is the complexity of Supreme Court, and what is the complexity of the lawyers, and what is the complexity of High Court, and how the contracts are written. That is, and what is their understanding when you apply the AI and machine learning to that space. I'm just giving examples. Same thing could be healthcare, same thing could be banking, financial. And how do you do it? You observe the patterns and anti-patterns. Patterns are those, if that problem has been solved by somebody else, how did you solve the problem? Or what are the problems in that problem solution? That is the anti-patterns. So the patterns and anti-patterns you observe. Then the third stage comes in when you connect the dots within the box or outside the box. During this process, all the entrepreneurs sometimes live in the forest. Whatever they get into in that room, 4 or 5 people, 10 people, 20 people, 100 people, every time you move from 10 to 100, the problem statement changes. It comes to mystery again. 1 to 10 is the one mystery, 10 to 50 is the second mystery, 50 to 250 is third mystery, 250 to 1000 is the third mystery. And during each phase, we'll end up into blind spots. How do we spot the blind spots? So there are 4 elements for which, how do we solve mystery to heuristics to algorithm? So once the business is in algorithmic phase, the way many businesses we aspire to become, if Facebook, or they are in algorithmic phase, they have automatically end customer is working and acting as a salesperson for them. End customer is promoting the Facebook or the LinkedIn, and that cycle is running, and that's the algorithm which is running. But to reach to that stage of LinkedIn or Facebook or Freshworks or Zoho, those are the elements which we need to understand what the blind spots are. Now for that, there are 3 laws of design thinking. First law of design thinking is less is more. We need to have lesser number of products, lesser number of solutions. What I observed typically, including me, when I was young, I was looking for many ideas. Entrepreneur idea is filled up with the idea, and every 45 days, he come out with a new idea. The first thing is to hold back that ideas. How to reduce, so whatever the companies I'm mentoring, my biggest challenge for them is how to stop thinking the new ideas. First is less is more, pick a few ideas, but how to do it, that's a science. But first law, if you remember, less is more. Second law is look at the prioritization. If you have 5 ideas, how do you pick up an impact of 1,000 gram, impact of 100 gram, impact of 10 grams? So each idea can be given a weight, and that weight is 1,000 gram, 100 gram, 10 grams. 110 gram idea makes it 1,000 gram idea. So if you pick up one idea of 1,000 gram instead of working on 100 such ideas, that's a waste of time. Apple, with just 5 products, built up a business of $400 billion, almost like a budget of Indian government, slightly lesser than the Indian government budget. So CFO of Apple with $400 billion revenue, he generates more revenue than Indian government to total collects from the taxpayers. And then the third law is last 2% is 200%. And that is where so it's 98% product in the marketplace are similar. There'll be hundreds of HR product, hundreds of health product, hundreds of banking products. It's not a complex to write a programming language. All of us knows the programming language in IT. We can write very significantly, but the difference is you reach up to 98%. To make it 98% to 200%, 2%, just 2%. You have to put 200 efforts, and your pricing can be 200% higher. So just to summarize, 3 laws of design thinking: less is more, theory of prioritization, and last 2%. Let's move on to the next topic. We need to design thinking at 2 levels. Design thinking for self-leadership. How you as an entrepreneur, how you change your leadership. What is the elements of your own self-leadership is a design thinking for self-leadership. And then I'll look at a chapter 4, which is about design thinking for business leadership. So I'll divide my conversation or dialogue into two areas. One is about self-leadership, and second is about business leadership. Because without changing, as Sriram was mentioning, you have to change yourself first before getting the results out for the business. Once you change your thinking process, you can change the culture of your organization. Culture is the DNA of the company, which drives the growth of 10x. The biggest challenge for any entrepreneur is how to drive 10x growth is the biggest challenge. And how to build a culture. Culture, when you become 100 people organization, 1,000 people organization, how the Google culture will remain same and same creativity is a culture. For that, starting point is your self-leadership, because people in the company, and you are responsible for building culture in the company. So I look at culture has 5 elements. I say your human mind, if you look at, imagine your mind as a 2,000 square feet space. And you have to design your mind that 2,000 square feet space, like a house has a 2,000 square feet space, your mind has 2,000 square feet for thinking. So you have in your house, you have a drawing room, you have a bedroom, you have a kitchen, you have a pantry, you have toilets. All are the things which you design in your house. Similarly, when you design your mind, there are 5 minds which I summarize. First mind is my imaginative mind. Imaginative mind, to visualize myself first. What is my strength? What I am? Understanding myself. Who is my role model? Like in my journey, I started the journey with my role model as a J.R.D. Tata. When 83, 84, when I passed out, my role model was J.R.D. Tata. Then after 10 years, my role model shifted to Walt Disney when I visited Disney World, and I found the imagination, what he has imagined. I found that is my role model. After 10 years, when I saw the first product of iPod from an iPhone, Steve Jobs became my role model. In 2012, when I visited Wardha, Gandhi became my role model. The role models are compass for you, and visualization, self and visualization business are your imagination. If you go to imagination for the customer, imagine customer what he's looking for, imagine end to end, imagine what can go wrong. This all comes from a imaginative mind. Like what can go wrong? Like if you observed Apple devices and iPod in 2001, which impressed me most, that these devices didn't have any screw. If you observe your remote in TV, remote in your home, you find the battery place always breaks down and you have a tape on the remote. It's just because your finger moves around when you are watching the movie and you keep opening, closing the remote button. And that's a minor observation. And that observation, Apple looked at it, that remove the screw in the system. So nobody can screw the performance of the products. So after that, all the devices Apple has produced has no screw at all to open it. The second mind is a learning mind. This is a very critical mind for you to look at it for design thinking. It's about preparing the mind to germinate questions. So learning mind is first mind where your mind allows your question to germinate. Like a 5-year-old boy, your mind should be so fertile that it should generate questions. I'm not asking it should generate answers. A lot of time our mind generates answers more than the questions. For design thinking, your mind has to be prepared, your soil has to be right, where you germinate the questions. Once questions comes in, then you need to frame the right question. That this question is right. The way I started the conversation on saying, what is business? What is opportunity? What is resources? These are the framing the questions to trigger a right way of understanding the landscape. Go we have a great advantage. Either we search Google Guru, or we can read some analyst reports, or we can go through so search after the question is right, enough knowledge is available. So we are in that era where I can get anything free of cost to me. I can go to SlideShare to pick up any slide. I can go to any analyst report in the world. All the McKinsey reports are available on some deck you subscribe to. It's such an interesting thing today. We are living in that world where all these resources are available free to us. Then we abstract answers by taking notes. How you take notes when you are learning? Do you have one common diary? I picked up one book of saying how to make notes. Even taking notes is a science by itself. And then based on that, I synthesize the knowledge frames. What are the knowledge frames is required for this business? So there are 6 frames I describe business as: belief, brand, capital, and customer. So there are 6 frames are there. Similarly, for knowledge frames, Angular JS can have 6 knowledge frames. My NFR, non-functional technology, can have 7 knowledge frames. One is customer experience, second is operation, third is performance, fourth is integration, fifth is analytics, sixth is security, seventh is my risk associated with it. So try to group them so that your mind is able to retrieve the information better and your information is better cataloged. So when you're reading the book, you need to create a frame in your mind. I'll come to you how I do it and how design thinking framework at Intellect we have used it to define level 0 wiring to level 1 wiring to level 2 wiring. And this comes from active listening. In the byline, teaching accelerates learning. So you need to become a teacher, because when you teach, all the doubts get clarified. Whether you teach within the organization or outside the organization, the more you teach, the better you are. Then it comes to the result mind, because as an entrepreneur, we need to drive results. I use the 3 phenomena called shift left, shift down, and shift out. Shift left means if I start doing the job one step before. So if I have to do the requirement understanding, I do to prepare how the frame should be done. If I'm doing the solution design, a lot of things of solution design I should ask in the requirement. When I'm doing the engineering function, I start doing some of the engineering elements in the solution design itself. Shift down is if the job can be done by somebody junior to you, you must have to create a space for you to grow. As an entrepreneur, one of the scalability principle is how can you delegate, which is a shift down. And third thing is shift out, how you delete certain things in a various life cycle of the organization. So sometimes we have a baggage of when we are 10 people organization, we may be doing something very good. In some other situation, we may not be required for 100 people organization. Same process which is relevant for 10 people may not be relevant for the 100 people, may not be relevant to 1,000 people. Shift out becomes an important point. For that, there's a full science about it. I'll not take you through all of it. You must be knowing most of it, but I'll just touch upon theory of constraint. I read the book Goal, very, very interesting book nowadays. If you have read by Goldratt, you constantly on quarter start identifying weakest link in the chain, and then start applying design thinking to solve that. And fifth element is ask for help in area of uncertainty. A lot of time entrepreneur says, I will solve it. If you are having any uncertainty, any ambiguity, please ask for help. You will find the help, whether NASSCOM will give you the help, CIA will give you the help, or some friend will give you the help. Then the fifth mind, which is there, a fifth room in your mind, is effective mind. And for effective mind, you need to understand decaf element. I call it decaf element: doubts, conflicts, anger, fear, and ego. So if you take a acronym of it, it becomes decaf. We all have a doubt, but how do you resolve your doubts and trust yourself? Because you'll have a doubt whether this product will work, not work, this technology will work, not work. Can I go to market with this price point? You'll have a doubt. But you need to trust yourself, your judgment, your intuition, and your team. Second is conflict. Conflict is a word which we normally are scared of. We don't jump into conflict day-to-day basis. But if you do the further analytics of it, what is conflict? Again, the same question, what is conflict? To me, conflict is a difference of opinion, difference of expectation, and difference of perspective. That is conflict. Now, for creativity also, I need all the three elements: difference of opinion, difference of perspective, and difference of expectation. That give me the creativity. So conflict and creativity are the two sides of the same coin. Our mind should understand that we should not run away from the conflict. We need to understand the differences are better for our better design. Then during this journey, you feel angry. Angry means, angry can be some people say, I never feel angry. We all feel angry whenever there is a disappointment. Sometimes we express our anger, sometimes we don't express our anger. But anger is an outcome of disappointment. When my expectation and delivery, there's a mismatch, the anger movement will come in. The fourth is a fear of going wrong, fear of commitment. And fifth is the ego. I know it all. So ego is not about how I live in a, sometimes say I don't have ego because I live in a simple house, I don't have any luxuries. That's not the ego. Ego is in the mind, that whether my mind says I know it all or I need to learn more. And to be effective, I need to prepare my mind. I need to balance the priority, recognizing bias versus as a limiting belief, because we all have a biases. We need to recognize biases. There are some more than 20 kind of biases we have. There's a science behind it. So if you want to download some article, what is bias, you'll find an article over there. The important point of effective mind is right decision at the right time. Do you make a decision at the right time? And fifth one is we before I. How many times in your vocabulary the word I is used versus we is used? And fifth mind is influencing mind for the right outcome. As a SME business, you are influencing the market. When you are selling the product, you are influencing the customer to buy your product. You are setting the agenda for it. You are no more a order taker. You are no more a problem solver. You are agenda setter. As a SME business, you are agenda setter, not a problem solver. Problem solver is a subset of it, and order taker is a subset of it. So there are three levels of it. So in influencing, I need to do the right outcome. There are 5 elements which I personally applied for. We need to create energy in the organization. Appreciation is a low cost tool for creating energy into the system. You need to spot the opportunity for appreciation. You need to constantly do the design dialogues in the teams. With the customer, you need to do the design dialogues. Asking the very fundamental questions is conducting the design dialogue. The third circle is you need to have a clear and assertive writing skills. So when you are giving a proposal to the customer, when you are making a presentation to the customer, when you are writing an email to the customer, how you can be clear and assertive in a lesser number of words when less is more. And then you need to weave the storyboard for telling a full story for your product or your business. And then you're presenting the storyboard. So your storyboard is like presenting a Pixar movie, Toy Story. It's kind of a storyboard. How you prepare a full storyboard, you're making a movie of Pixar, is the highest level of influencing the mind. So just to summarize, these are the 5 minds for self-leadership: my imaginative mind, my learning mind, my result mind, my effective mind, my influencing mind. So this is the power of mind, which comes where I explained it comes from self-thinking and self-leadership. In other words, I call design the thinking first and then thinking the design next. And I'll come to thinking the design in next chapter. For that, I am choosing the 5-step process for designing business leadership. Step 1 is a cartography. Cartography is a science to put the maps in 100 years back. The cartographer was the most important talent available who can able to draw maps with latitude, longitude, weather condition, color coding on the map was there. On the same map, he can demonstrate geographical map or geopolitical map or vegetation map. All of it is depicted on the same mapping. How you do the cartography of your business? In cartography of the business, we understand the market landscape. Who are the players? What is the current way of solving the problem? What is the technology landscape? Understanding the competition. Is this problem solved in America some way? This problem solved in Japan in some way? Is this problem solved in Germany in some way? Is this problem solved in Italy in some way? A lot of it, we are influenced today mainly from America, but we are not looking at an alternate way of solving how the Koreans have solved the problem and become leader in many technologies. And based on that, understanding trends. And once you look at this, then I create a frame for capturing knowledge. So my business should have a frames. Like in banking software, I have 10 frames in which I document my knowledge. I say what is core banking, what is lending, and what are the elements of lending, what is credit card, what are the elements of credit card, what is wealth management system, what are the elements of wealth management system, what is a capital market, what are the elements of capital market like brokerage, extra, what is my services for the capital market like custody service, registrar services, treasury service, services. Then I look at for corporate banking, what is the cash management, what is the payments, what is the liquidity, what is the trade finance, and then what is the treasury. Now these are 10 frames I record my knowledge, and within this frame I number them G1, G2, G3, G4, G5, G9, G10. So any new element of payment comes to picture, I park it under G7 as a frame. So now this is the one type of framing of your business which I spoke in the beginning. There are 6 capital, brand and customer. So these are the way when you are looking at a board level, at a team level, this is where 6 elements have to be looked at every month when you are having a dialogue around. Where are you in this journey? You need not be 100%. So if you have to grow each capital 3 times in next 5 years or 3 to 5 years, whatever landscape you want to make it, you have to visit all of them because all of them are synchronized to get a holistic output. Then you have to go in each of this capital. I will go to level 0. What are the? Then I go to level 1. Then I go to level 2. And then I go to level 3. So if I look at this diagram, B1 to B6 on the x-axis and L0 to L3, when I'm going L0 to L3, I'm going to last 2%. When I'm going B1 to B6, I have a holistic perspective. which we call L0 to L3 is called expertise, and B1 to B6 is called perspective. Now, once you have a cartographic view, then you need to spot the big opportunity. That's where the design thinking plays a key role. Because when I say less is more, I should not be having more than 2 or 3 ideas to work on. Then I need to spot right opportunity, big opportunity. To that, customer empathy becomes very, very important. What is the unfulfilled desire of the marketplace? Observe intently the natural patterns of human usage of technology. So we need to understand natural patterns. The way I was mentioning TV, screwing the TV remote, which normally gets broken. Why it is happening? In car, what is something is happening? In healthcare, why particular patient, when you are getting into the registration counter, how the registration experience is there for the patient when he is feeling so embarrassed, whether the payment is important that time or patient care is more important. Why you waste 10 minutes time over there? Listen what is not said. And the fourth element is very important on step 2 for opportunities. No agenda meetings. Have a circle time. Make 12 people, 15 people, 20 people sit in a circle and start having a dialogue. What went well? What are you looking at? What book have you read? Have a no agenda meeting. Suddenly you will find it will converge on something which you are not thinking about it. Whenever you are publishing the agenda, it means it's my agenda. We conduct a Lakshya where 100 people of the company come together for designing the intellect strategy. We don't have agenda for 3 days, and people were very uncomfortable that how can you have a 3-day meeting without agenda? I think if I'm publishing the agenda, it means I know the problem beforehand. I'm not discovering the problem of the company or identifying the opportunity in the marketplace. So first 2-3 hours, when we have an open dialogue, we'll find what is relevant for us, and all the experts are sitting there. We can reweave the agenda for the rest 2.5 days. But no agenda meeting brings out a beauty of your organization, your resources and opportunity. And during this process, you document questions and observation within chosen frame from step 1. Then choose the taxonomy. Taxonomy is important. You anchor around A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, B3, the way I did it. Anchor around some cataloging, because most of the knowledge which library has done, they have a cataloging of the books. We learn from there and apply it in current context. And then we can look at question design. Third stage is much more clear to all of you, is brainstorming and idea generation. A lot of us do brainstorming and idea generation. We all have a system of, so we have a design center at Intellect, which call it FinTech 8012. 8012 represent longitude and latitude of the design center. We believe it will contribute substantially. Chennai will contribute substantially for the financial technologies will go from the Intellect. And that's a confidence and belief we want to build in our team at Intellect. And that design center, we look at inspiration. It's a 30,000 square feet inspirational space. If you want to visit, write to School of Design Thinking. He will organize a trip for you in a School of Design Thinking. But that ideation space is important. We have substantially different design of table. Everything is different. So first of all, your physical environment to be different. To think different, your physical space also has to be different. Every wall you can write. In childhood, you used to write on wall. Your mother used to say, don't write on a wall. I say, please write on a wall, because we want to rekindle your imagination and write everywhere in the wall. Your desks are writable. Every desk is writable. Every wall is writable. Our whiteboards are not limited by the boundaries of the whiteboard called 8 feet by 4 feet. Our entire wall is a white wall. So that's the step 3, that you need to look at it, the environment of divergence or brainstorming. For this you need to bring, when you're doing the brainstorming, you need to bring some experts and some people with a perspective at the same time. So for the design team, I think the 5 things are important: skill, expertise, perspective, idea generation, and alignment. So you need to bring experts and perspective in the same room. So some people who have a business expertise or business perspective, and some people who come with the technology expertise, they have to come in the same room. The second point is most important idea is challenge all existing assumptions and biases in idea. Don't take it that this works, this doesn't work. When somebody says it will not work, that a will not work is a statement we should be shooting it down. It's a business rule that we cannot say something will not work. It may not work is still a better statement. But first of all, when we look at unstated need, some solution will be very, very difficult. And for that, the third rule is you use yes and. So if ideas are getting generated, don't say yes, but when in idea generation phase, one of the best tools we use is yes and. So if I'm saying I want to design a flying car, so I'm suggesting something, my second person on the left will suggest, and you can do this, and you can do this. And avoid the word but in your conversation. Pick up the positive patterns that work within the organization and outside the organization. A lot of time we are looking at it, it works very well in Intellect, it works very well in Polaris, it works very well in Nucleus, it works very well in Infosys, it works very well in Wipro. But I need to look at Wipro, Infosys, Mindtree, Zoho, Salesforce.com, what is working there? And then pick up anti-patterns. Where it failed. What failed in Intellect? What failed in Polaris? What failed in Nucleus? What failed in Infosys? What failed in Wipro? What failed in Salesforce? Everybody has some failure points. And these are the 4 elements we need to keep it for during the ideating phase. And put all the pieces, either use Jamboard. We use Jamboard very effectively nowadays. Jamboard is like a whiteboard where you put sticky notes. In a large group meeting of 100 people, we are able to use Jamboard very, very effectively to collect best practices, generate ideas, and create possibilities. Once we have reached there is a time for making choices, which is a convergence. At this stage, we have to make choices, what we need to take forward. So whether we need to order 6 capital if you're working on design statement, on leadership capital, or you're working on product capital. If you're working on product capital, there'll be 10 ideas on product capital, how my customer experience screen should look like, how my analytics screen should look like, how do I connect analytics screen to the customer experience screens. I need to create all the ideas into affinity. We call it Coparis as a frame, 7 frames in Intellect. C stands for customer experience, O for operational workflows and business rules, P for performance of the application, A for analytics of the application, R for risk associated when you are running the application, I for integration, and S for security. And we build up a low coding platforms around all the 7 elements. So whenever we see the problem or the opportunity, we align to affinity cluster in each one of them. Then within affinity cluster, we weigh the idea of 1,000, we apply 1,000 gram, 1,000 gram item. Then we classify into which affinity cluster is quick problem solving, which are bold and which are long lasting. And then we make choices. Choices by deleting 80% of the ideas. We need to pick up only 2 out of 10 ideas. That's the idea which is there. And this is the time when the alignment portion is very, very important at this stage. It's time to do collaborative and iterative. And after that, once you choose the idea, then you do a iterative prototyping. Once the prototype is clear, you need to weave a story. To me, writing a product, writing a technology, it takes 12 months to write. Weaving the story also takes 3 to 6 months time. Don't hurry up as soon as your product is ready. You have to spend, I normally take some 5 to 6 design dialogues at every interval of 2 to 3 weeks over the 3 months, over the 6 months to design a right story which is suitable for the market. I may be inefficient because I take 6 months. You may be efficient, you may take 3 months, but don't try to short that I can weave the story in 1 week, because it requires a lot of understanding and your mind has to work and multiple sessions are required because for getting last 2%. Because if story is right, your selling process will be right. Your success will be in first round or second round. You will not require 10 rounds for success because we get fatigue if you have to try 7 times in a market. So story writing becomes very, very important. For writing a story, what is the best way I use? I use whiteboard or Jamboard. I write keywords which describes the feeling behind the solution. Once I write the keywords, what is the emotion it's depicting, that's where I will have some 30, 40, 50 people, 10 people writing keywords, and then we'll start connecting the sticky notes closer to each other with similar affinity. Once I start connecting the 5 or 6 keywords which represents a product or which describes a product, then I am able to stitch a headline for what it solves. So when something say, what do you do? I need to solve the headline next. Once I have a headline available to me, then I start having the paragraphs writing, design the wireframes, and then fit into the presentation deck. I can create a presentation deck. And from same thing, I can weave the AV or story or presentation for the customer language. And then the final job becomes, once I have a very good story, very good presentation, very good AV, very good articulation, how do I present it? It's a job of selling the story in the marketplace. So you are as good as Shah Rukh Khan, Amitabh Bachchan when you sell a story. So any startup entrepreneur should have that image, self-image, that he is as powerful as Virat Kohli or he's as good as Amitabh Bachchan or Shah Rukh Khan to sell the story. So these are 5-step processes which we call it cartographic view, where we develop the frames, then spotting the big opportunity, brainstorming and idea generation, then we converge and design a story. I'll stop at this point for question and answer because I introduced, just to summarize, I started my session with what is business. Business is about opportunity, systems, and resources. Then we define opportunity is about what is opportunity and what is the resources. I said opportunity is about customer. We are solving some customer problem because he's paying for it. Resources are your 6 capitals are your resources. Then I say, what is design thinking? Design means planning and organizing the elements. And then what is thinking? Thinking is about the action which germinates a thought in your mind, the conceiving, envisioning, and imagination. Then I move on to concepts of design thinking, the 3 definitions of design thinking and 3 laws of design thinking. Then I moved on to 5 self-leadership, 5 minds for self-leadership: imagination mind, learning mind, result mind, effective mind, influencing mind. It makes me as a good leader for self-leadership. Then I move towards business leadership, where I look at cartographic view. I look at it, spotting the right opportunity or biggest opportunity, then idea generation or brainstorming, then convergence, and then storytelling. So that's what I completed over here in the last 50 minutes of the time. Definitely, it takes much more time. We take a workshop for 3 days or 3 weeks or 8 weeks when we actually go through this entire process. But this is just a brief introduction to you on design thinking, and left for the question right now. Over to Sriram.
Yeah, thanks, Arun. It's a very comprehensive presentation. And we have a few questions. Maybe we'll start with first question. Before starting, I think you have covered wide range of topics, Arun. So whether started with business leadership, cartography, or belief framework, customer empathy, and you have offered to the audience also to visit your design center. I have visited your design center. It's a world-class facility. So he has offered. I request prefix with Arun's team. Please go and visit Arun's design center. It's a world-class facility. So we will move to the first question, Arun. First question is, they are talking about, could you little more elaborate on belief framework? So maybe you can go back, possible slide, or maybe you can explain the belief framework.
I'll go back to slide also and explain on that. That's a good point. Now, for any business to succeed, it requires this 6 capitals. You need brand and sales. So let's say when you starting SME startup, he has a product which is a B4 capital. Then he has some people who are committed to the product, which is a B3 capital, and they're solving some customer problem, which is a B2 capital and customers. That's the 3 things which comes together as a startup. Then you start building a product and start selling to somebody. That becomes your brand and sales capital. You name the company, you name the group, and that naming the group becomes important. That becomes B1 capital. How your name is so interesting. Sometimes your naming itself is a curious naming. Sometimes I use the name 8012 to create a curiosity. But name of the company sometimes have a curiosity itself. Sometimes name of the company is solving the particular problem. So naming itself is important, and then do the sales. That's the B1 capital. Then I deliver to the customer on the promise I made. I call it, if you deliver 3 days before time to any customer, you don't need a sales team. Delivery D-3 OTIF is the execution capital. And 6 is the finance capital. So finance capital is about what is the business model of the, what is your business model, what is your pricing, how the business model is scalable. So these are 6 capitals. So you need a 6 expertise in your company as a startup. A lot of time we start liking the people from the same technology company. So all 3 of us are technologists. So we have a strong B4 capital, and we have a B5 capital also. We are good at good programming. We can do it, but we leave other capital out. So I would suggest that a startup needs to look at it, or any SME needs to look at it, whether he has a complete 6 capital, whether it need not be with one person. So we started as an intellect, 3 people, Yogesh, myself, Vishnu. We were holding 2 capital each. Sometimes start up with the 3 partners, but 3 partners should be complementary to each other, not doing the same thing, all 3 of them.
Yeah. Next question is, we are talking about loss of design and thinking, the last 2%, Arun.
So the last 2%, in the same slide, if you look at last 2%, when I get into brand and sales, let's say I pick up one capital called brand capital. First, L0 will be, what is my messaging as a brand? I need to pick up 5 or 6 words, which is my L0 statement. That will be my ethos of my entire brand communication. Then I go to the next step, L1, that if brand message has 3 things, we say intellect is writing composable and contextual solutions for the banking. So I have keywords is composable, second is contextual, third word is banking. Now I go to L1, I'll decompose L1. What is composability means? It means microservices, it means package business components, it means integration, it means orchestration. Those are the L1 words of the composability. Same way I'll do. So I'll look at for contextuality, my AI, machine learning, decision making. Then I go to L2 word of it, that microservices, how many microservices I have, how many APIs I have. That is the L2 analysis. And then I go to the L3. So when I keep on dissecting and keep wiring composability up to the final level of how I document my microservices on Confluence, and if you want to change a small change in a functionality, I go to shared Confluence engine. When I do it, that is my L3, and that is my last 2%.
So the next question is, Kesh, can you share an example of some business and the journey through the step, what the outcome looks like?
All the businesses are similar way. So if your own business or intellect business, I can share my intellect story. So in intellect business, when I separated Polaris and intellect in 2014, and I believe my personal passion was product business rather than services business. The first challenge was, how do I change the culture of the organization, which is service culture? So services require a particular culture of order taking and understanding the customer and problem solving. While product company required a culture of agenda setting and problem solving. Now to that level, I look at the cartographic view, which are the product company in the world. Temenos is a great company in banking space. Finestra was a great company in the banking space. FIS was a great company. So I look at the landscape. That was my cartographic view of the market space. What technology they were using, I found they were using some old technology. I can disrupt the market by bringing a microservices and cloud technology in 2015, 2016. Then that becomes a big opportunity for me. So big opportunity come to me in terms of what is my current landscape is there. And if I use cloud technology in 2015, that time it was just getting introduced. And if my product are ready for cloud and digital and AI and machine learning in 2016 and 17, then I committed 1,000 crore for investing into R&D into that area, because that was a big opportunity for me, because my competition was not investing at 2015 on that space. Then I did an idea generation, that how do we go about doing it. We have multiple sessions and multiple teams I created, one for corporate banking, one for retail banking, one for capital market, one for insurance, and all the 4 teams started working separately to identify and building the idea generation phase. Then we converge on, these are the 3 products we want to go first in a market, where we should take a leadership. We write 12 products, but we'll take 3 products at a time and invest some another 1,800 crore for marketing, creating a brand around that. We created a IGTB Oxford leadership brand. So those are the brands we created. And then we start creating the story. For creating a story, the very interesting thing we started doing is, we said, we are writing a software, global transaction banking. So everybody in a bank has one manager called GTB head. We say our unit is also called GTB head. So he's mentally aligned to our product. Then we start creating a GTB advisory board, global advisory board. Then we start taking a Sage brand we are taken, because we are selling enterprise base. So we tied up with Oxford University, and we said, we bring the CIOs of the market to the Oxford, take it to there and tell the story there, because they have a listening authority. We created a design center. These are all the tools we use for telling our story. So that's the 5-step process I can share for the intellect, but I didn't want to do the pompous form intellect, but just still that experience is close to my heart. I shared that.
Yeah, thanks, Arun. So next question is from Venkanna. I think Venkanna worked with the Polaris as part of UL team. I am a founder at Ample Logic. Is the design thinking more effective with low-code platforms?
Low-code platform is the outcome of design thinking. Low-code platform will give you higher throughput. So low-code platform is the opportunity identified. So if you look at it in Polaris or Intellect, we started first creating a frame of Coparis. And then we start saying each area, if we have a low-coding platform, then we have a distinct advantage of accelerated delivery or accelerated digital transformation for the customer. And that's where the low-coding platform comes into picture. So low-coding platforms are not starting point. Low-coding platform is an outcome of design thinking to say which area and what you need to do in a low-coding platform.
Yeah, next question is from Arun Patnaik. Can you please list the 5 elements of design thinking?
5 elements of design thinking.
Yeah.
I listed down all the 3 laws of design thinking and 3 definitions of design thinking. And
starting from belief, that is what you said.
Starting from belief, yeah. So I think those are the, if you just record it, it's more than 5 elements, 7 or 8 elements are there. Yeah.
And the next question is how IP is applicable to service companies too.
IP to me is anything which you do differently is IP. IP doesn't mean you have even process can be IP. Your learning can be IP. Your training can be IP. Your way of dealing with the people, attracting the talent could be IP for you. IP is not only what we understand, which is patentable in technology space. IP is my differentiation, which I create in an organization around all the 6 capitals. So I may have IP of brand, I may have IP of customer, I may have IP for the way my leadership or attract the talent. So all the 6 capital I can have a IP.
Then, so I'm asking you one question, Arun. How small and medium companies, whether they require a dedicated team for design thinking implementation or it's a cross-functional team, how they should go about, especially for SMEs?
I mean, you don't require a separate team as such. I think this is a culture where a CEO has to lead the way, where he starts believing into it. and his actions are the culture. You don't require a separate team at all. Design thinking is not a process like quality process or something. Design thinking is a way of what we do day to day, but it's my behavior, the way I do it. That's why self-leadership becomes first. A lot of time design thinking, people say I get a design facilitator for doing it. I'm dead against that design facilitator. You may learn the practice. You may do a course on design thinking. Let's say the School of Business Design and School of Design Thinking can have an 8-week course or 12-week course where you spend time, absorb yourself into design thinking. You want to go to Stanford to do a design thinking program, go there. But it has to be led by the leaders themselves. The top 2, 3, 4, 5 leaders has to lead it. If they're not 2, 4, 5 leaders, even one person is enough for bringing the processes and systems in doing the design thinking. Whether he gives a time of no agenda meeting, he's comfortable with no agenda meeting, because a lot of senior executives are not comfortable with no agenda meeting.
I fully agree with you, Arun.
Yeah.
So one is it's a culture they have to bring in. Otherwise, it's very, very difficult. So they will not bring, because always the prefixed meetings, they'll go with a prefixed agenda, prefixed mind. So the no agenda meeting is very, very important. I fully agree with you. There is one more question from Ajay Datta from Bangladesh. So we are working on a new kind of idea, which we have surveyed that will be very effective for India. I am a Bangladeshi entrepreneur. What could be my next step?
Just do it. Just sit down and form a team and start creating a prototype of it. But before jumping onto it, just do more documentation work. Go L1 to L2, level 1 to level 2. Once you get into level 2, level 3 will come afterwards. But level 2 is okay to test out your idea.
So there is one more question from Akhil. Should it be the result mind, which is at stage 3, now come at the end?
Sorry, just...
This is from Akhil. Should not be the result mind, which is at stage 3, now come at the end. This is what he has posted.
Yeah.
Not clear with the question.
That's right. His point is whether result mind should be the outcome of everything else is a result. But when you are looking at self-leadership, you start doing anything, something you are creating. So after imagination, after learning, you are creating something. The creation is called your... So sometimes you can write a good program, but you may not be effective in working with the teams. You may not be influencing other people to sell it. So that's how the result mind comes in the middle of between imagination, learning. Results are there because sometimes you must have seen in an organization, there's a smart programmer, very, very significant expert, but he doesn't work with anybody else. He works alone. He's not effective. He's effective individually, but not as effective as a team. That SME cannot be effective. That business will not be effective. Then you come to influence. That's why I put it in the middle, not in the end.
Okay. The next question is from Raj Kamal. Out of the 6 capitals which you had mentioned with priority 1 to 6, financial capital is must to create all other capitals. So for a startup to create 1 to 5 capitals, it takes a lot of time based on the revenue generated by business. What is your suggestion for the same?
Yeah, so I think this is when we started our company in 1986, we didn't have an opportunity for any finance capitals. Basically, we need to think about a product and start generating revenue in 6 months' time. 6 months' time, I can survive on my scooter and I can survive on with my parents. So I don't need a salary for 6 months or 1 year. It's not a big issue. But today, when we are looking at finance capital is a primary objective, then I'm not able to wire my product and end customer. When I'm on vulnerable stage because I don't have a revenue for 6 months and my parents start saying you don't earn, and then I will be very sharp. My mind will be very sharp. I will be in vulnerable zone. And that stage is important for a startup to go through the same phase, because if they emphasize too much on a finance capital upfront, then my ability to find a big opportunity, which is a step 2 of design thinking, may not be right big opportunity. It may be semi-right big opportunity, which may not succeed afterwards. So too much time is spent today by having a pitch deck and other things. I think spend more time with the team to look at it how to bootstrap your business. I think Sriram has built up Integra on bootstrap model. So all of us in this room have built up our businesses on bootstrap models. I think for some stage, till the time you have some revenue viability, and you require angel capital, it's okay. Some mentor will be there who will give you angel capital. I think that's not a big issue if your idea is good.
Yeah, thanks, Arun. And one more question. Any good book or video you can suggest on design thinking?
Design thinking, there are multiple books. I'm not able to look at it for design thinking, but to me, design thinking is a fifth discipline by Peter Senge. Is a system thinking, which gives a feeling of system thinking. Now, system thinking, when you meet with opportunity thinking, which is available in C.K. Prahlad, Competing for the Future, and then you have a books on gold rat of solving the operational problem. When you combine all of them, and then Stephen Covey for personal habits, which is there, these 4 or 5 books combination creates a good design thinking. Otherwise, it becomes there are books on design thinking which are more around a specific process of design thinking. To me, design thinking is a mind shift rather than a process.
Arun, you should talk about you are writing a book on design thinking. Good book. So maybe you should okay. That also. Maybe you should launch.
Yeah, maybe we can launch those books. So I am writing a small book. Yeah, I'm writing a book on Mukt. So it will take some, and 5 minds, self-leadership. But I'm start writing of Sriram for school children first. The first book is for 9 to 12 standard, not for businesses. That will be for teenager to achiever is the first book. That how teenager I start building a design mindset. And then I'll maybe writing next book on design, same imagination mind, learning mind, result mind for the business people, small businesses. But first I'm starting a journey from the bottom up.
That's very good, Arun, because in NASSCOM and other industry bodies, they are all working on startup at the school level, so and the college level. So similar way, you are addressing design thinking mindset at school level. It's it's a fantastic initiative, Arun. So that's all on the question side, Arun. Maybe if you want to summarize,
yeah.
So that would be great, and then I can hand over to me.
So I'll just put the summary into 10 mantras for 10x growth. First is you're framing your business. What I told you about the frames in which you want to put your business. What is your business identity, the brand capital? What is the latent? What is latent in your business, or what problem are you solving? You need to reframe and rethink, asking the right questions to understand and defining the problem. Second step is visualize what 10x looks to you. Visualize what 2030 looks to you. Keep yourself, take out 2 days time, transport yourself in 2030. What business will look like? Don't look at current constraints. You want to be $100 million, 1,000 crore company, you want to be 5,000 crore company, or you want to solve a particular business problem. That visualization is important. Sometime in 1985, I'm just sharing my personal diary over here. In 85, in my personal diary, I written, I want to be chairman of public listed company. I didn't know what in 1985, what public limited company is. I'm not coming from business family. I'm coming from government service, a 9th child in a family. And when my wife took it out, this diary in 2002, she said, this is my dream, chairman of public limited company. Once you put a visualization right, then the next steps start happening because your mind gets anchored to the dream. So what do you see yourself in 2030, your business in 2030? That will give you the imagination mind. For that, you take a blank A3 paper, think about where your business is, what you want to see in 2030. Visualize it and think about how you can narrate your dream using drawings, pictures, and other objects. No alphabets, words, or text to be used. But visualize the thing with the drawing, pictures and other objects, because they are three-dimensional, they're two-dimensional, they speak, the pictures speak 1,000 words. You can use colors, be as dramatic or as simple as you feel like. This exercise can be done by the team. Like we did an exercise with a team of 20 people going for a offsite for 2 days, 3 days. One can do the visualization exercise. And that exercise is only imagination exercise. Once you do the imagination, then as an organization, you can start learning what the gaps are. And then from learning, you will start delivering the results. Then you get into the third mantra is, once you imagine it, then you start detailing it. You get into L0, L1, L2. You start creating a framework. This is a framework we created for our business model for global universal banking. You can create a framework, similar framework for you. What is the business is there. So I can go to core banking lending, which I described. So this is a framework. This remains constant. From 2008, this is constant. Nothing has changed in this frame. This is my cartographic view of the business. And then keep on detailing further and further. And we have a 10,000 pages, 50,000 pages of the detailing which happens. Then fourth is your operate a business framework, 6 capital framework. This is like a cube, which I said 1 centimeter cube can become a 6 centimeter cube. Fifth is build leadership team. Hire people smarter than you. One of the important learning for entrepreneur or startup is when as a starter entrepreneur, when I'm getting a 1 lakh salary per month, how can I hire a person with 4 lakh salary a month? So I will try to hire a person with 70,000 rupees salary a month, then 1 lakh rupees salary a month. This is a mindset issue. When you need a 4 lakh person, but he's coming with a talent, which is you require to fulfill the gap in your leadership talent. And you may have to pay 4 times than your own salary because you own the equity in the company. Your equity is 100 times more valuable than the 4 times salary you're paying to the employees. So having a courage to hire the employees better than you is the 5th mantra. 6th mantra, market your product. Branding and promotion of your product enables greater outage. As of now, we all seen all the startups, all the new unicorns are about marketing the products. 7th mantra is sometimes SME doesn't have a board here. I've seen many SMEs, they don't have a proper board. I requested for the board of, in 97, I requested for Mr. Bhargav to come on my board for Maruti. I asked chairman of MTNL to come on my board because I didn't know how a large corporation can be done. In 97, I was 15 crore company and I invited the board, I selected the board, Trade Development Authority chairman to come on my board. So I invited Ashok Jhunjhunwala to come on a board. So I brought one academics, one trade person and one telecom chairman and one manufacturing operations large setup to be on a board. Now that's important point to have a board, which is 7th mantra. And second thing, I put a or there, I should have put and. You need a one sounding board with you, a mentor or sounding board. Pick up some coach whom you can freely discuss anything. It can be sounding board, you may have to pay him some salary, pay him something, pay him 50,000 rupees a month for 2 sessions a month or whatever it is, but you need a sounding board whom you can, because when you speak to the person, you clarify your own mind. Sometimes an entrepreneur has multiple thoughts in his mind. When he speaks to somebody, then only his mind gets clarified. And his mentor need not be of your own industry. It can be from any other industry. So sometimes we search for a mentor in our own industry, but somebody whom you have trust, 100% trust on him. Sometimes your family member can be a sounding board. So mentor and sounding board are 2 words, but you can have both in one, or you can have 2 different people. So 3 things: sounding board, mentor, and board is the 7th mantra where you have a doubt. So decaf element, when you have a decaf element, it will be helpful for effective mind to have a sounding board. Identify a role model, a lighthouse. To me, Disney World becomes a lighthouse to me. When I visited 1988 and he said, if you can dream it, you can do it, that became a lighthouse. I know I'm nowhere in that journey of Disney World, but it given me a small candlelight vision that something can be big. Ninth mantra is, we need to solve step by step. There's no mantra that we can solve all the problem at the same time. Spot one constraint at a time, weakest link step at a time, by identifying what is 10 gram, 100 gram, 1000 gram. Next thing is reinvent yourself every 2 years. The last mantra is, we need to reinvent ourselves. We need to go for some transformation leadership workshop. We need to go for some education ourselves to reinvent ourselves. We need to invest some money in our own learning process, whether and time both. I may go for some course, I may go for transformation leadership workshop. In my journey, 95, 96, Anil Sachdeva organized a workshop, transformation leadership workshop at Dharamshala, and there are 20 people participated. Those 3 days are the moment of my transformation, where my journey from as a business to the institution has moved. So my dot has moved from creating a company to building an institution. Started in that 96, when I met with Vikram Lal, Adi Godrej, and other people in that workshop. It's just so inspirational to meet those people in a 3-day workshop. So it could be, but reinvention could be multiple ways you can do the reinvent. When I moved from services business to intellect as a product business, I reinvented myself. It was vulnerable. I was making a 200 crore profit per year in Polaris. I have to invest for next 5 years. I have to go through the loss making of 200 crores. So that was a big transformation for me, for reinventing myself to be in current position. Today, when we generate 400 crore profit per year, it's an outcome of those journey which I went through. So these are the 10 mantras which are there. A simplified way of somebody asks the question, where do I start? These are the 10 things which can be done. Thank you, Sriram, for providing me the opportunity for this forum. Thanks a lot. I think we finished in time.
Yes, Arun. As we come to the end of this workshop, once again, thank you, Arun, for the very comprehensive presentation covering design thinking, principles, belief framework, 10x mantras for 10x growth. It has been a fantastic session, Arun. Thanks for answering various questions. And participants, I hope you found the workshop informative and very useful. Wish you all the best for the implementation and exponential growth. Thank you, everyone, for joining this workshop. Thank you.